So there are a couple of different ways then that we can look at the unification of Shiva and Shakti. At the very basic level, it is looking at what you may think of as duality or polarity. There's good and bad. There's masculine and feminine. These ideas that things are different, that they're separate. And in Tantra, the idea is that we need to undo that. That they're not really as different and separate as we think, because there's something that unifies everything. And we're wanting to get to the place of unification. And I'll go in a little bit more into what that explanation is. But at the basic level, then, when we're looking at just sort of balancing our lives out, we're trying to just get ourselves to better relationships and not being angry at work. We're looking at places of balancing out different levels of duality. And one of the common duality thinking that we have, or the dualistic thinking that we have, is that I am me and you are you. Now, Tantra says that's not really true. And we will go more into that. But I am me and you are you. And that one single piece of duality changes the way that we interact with each other. Because as soon as I am me and you are you, there's the potential for conflict to arise. Because you have the piece of cake that I really want, and I'm just not going to have that. So a whole thing starts to happen around the idea that I am me and you are you. And this is one of the really the most subtle aspects of duality that needs to be resolved. But it also creates most of the problems that we have in our life. If we were able to see and experience things differently, we could resolve those conflicts that makes me want the job that you have, that makes me jealous of the car that you drive. All of the different things that happen inside of me based upon how I perceive you and what I don't have or what I do have in comparison to you creates conflict within myself. It's the conflict that's the problem, not the you. And the conflict happens as something that's in me. So there's really something happening in me that creates the problem. There's nothing outside of me that is really causing a problem. So there is an energetic reaction that happens inside of me. When I see that she has the dream job that I've always wanted and I can't get it because I can't even get the interview, there is a response, an energetic response that arises in me that I interpret as anger or jealousy that makes me feel uncomfortable. Now, if I say it's her fault because she has the job, then I've missed the truth. I've missed the point. The truth is there's something in me that is happening. And Tantra wants us to look at that something in us that is happening, rather than blaming the world for all of our sorrows or even giving the world the joys. We look inside of ourselves. This makes me angry. This makes me happy. Now, the same things don't make people angry or happy. And we all know that. If we really stop and think about it, you know, there are things that make you angry that wouldn't make your friends angry. You know, we all have our things. There's a uniqueness about each of us. And Tantra describes that as karma. It is karma that creates the energetic response. Now, in our culture, karma is often thought about as being sort of a system of punishment and reward. You know, bad karma's going to get them because they did this thing. And that's really just me being in conflict with you. You know, I'm in conflict, I have had a reaction, and instead of saying, this is my reaction, let me look at that, I say, you caused this reaction to me, and you're going to get punished. And that's not the way karma really works. Karma is actually a very objective record of what you think you have done in combination with the intention in which you did it. So each time that you do anything at this stage, any time that you do anything, you create karma around what you have just done. And you can think of karma kind of like little seeds. So every time I do something, I walk down the road. I've created karma around walking down the road. Now, of course, we really experience the ones that are more emotionally charged than that. Yes, we all have karma around walking down the road, but it's usually the things that really charge us, the places where we have either been hurt in some way or that we really, really like the thing that we've happened. Those are the ones that we really notice. So in the mindset of the things that we really like, the way that karma works is, I go one day and I have a piece of chocolate cake, and oh, that's so good. I've just created karma around chocolate cake. Now, that karma sort of sits in the background and it becomes a seed for things that we then experience later. So we're experiencing the moment, we're planting a seed for something else that may also happen. And as we play more with the experience, so I go back and I have chocolate cake again. So I'm throwing off these different seeds that are all related to chocolate cake. Now, at some point, if I keep doing that, there's going to be a habit, a pattern that gets created around that. There's going to be so much karma around chocolate cake that the energetic nature of the karma itself will continue to draw me to chocolate cake. It will become an energetic habit. And over time it will also change and transform, because it may start off that I really just like chocolate cake. But as I continue with the process, I may discover that chocolate cake makes me feel better after a bad day. And so now a new intention has been added to the karma. A new reason for having the chocolate cake has been added. And before I know it, I am obsessed with chocolate cake every time I have a bad day. If I'm not paying attention, I'm just going to go eat chocolate cake when I don't feel good. And I'm not necessarily going to understand why. But if I start to pay attention, I start to notice, oh my, every time I have a bad day, I want chocolate cake. I wonder if there's something going on here. And at that point, we have an opportunity to begin to step out and really witness the patterns. So what happens in our lives in general is that when we're really trapped in just sort of the experience that most of us are trapped in, we are very unconscious about the things that are happening. Karma pulls us around. Karma tells us where to go, what to do, what to eat, how to think, how to feel. Karma invites the people into our lives that are going to either believe us or are really going to trigger our stuff and piss us off. And it's all going to be based upon these seeds of karma. So you can think of the karma as seeds. Once the experiences have been created, when they become strong enough, the energetics really plant themselves and start to grow and evolve and experience. There's a fruit that comes out of it. You plant the intention based upon past actions, and then you receive the reward. You know, as you sow, or as you reap, so shall you sow, or whatever the saying is. I think you all know what I'm talking about. So there becomes then an aspect of having to become conscious of the different things that we are experiencing. So that's another place where we're starting to resolve duality. We have to start getting rid of these energetic patterns and seeing them as separate from ourselves. And I'm going to go a little bit more into, the higher level as well. So that's sort of the middle level of starting to learn to purify. And we'll talk more about the purification process as we go along. But the karmas have to be gotten rid of in order for us to start shifting and changing our experience. So if there are things that happen in our lives that we are uncomfortable with, which is usually the first things that come up, we want to get out of discomfort. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's that place of learning to find a balanced place in your life and use that balanced place as a foundation for deeper spiritual growth. Because once you find your sort of safety zone, then it feels safer to start exploring other things.